Oh, good morning, and welcome to today's episode of the podcast. Oh, managed to get into bed a little earlier last night, and so I feel a little bit more energetic this morning. And also, I just now realized I forgot to I forgot to open up the computer and start doing podcast last night. I was planning on uploading day before's and adding yesterday's to render, but yeah, well, I'm thinking I might actually just start doing them all at once, kind of one right after another. So record for like a whole week, and then combine them all. Well, not combine them, but run them one after another, so that I just process 5 at a time. But I don't know, maybe I'll just kind of do them whenever I feel like it. Because I don't really want to just get home and immediately start processing them to upload that same day, especially since there's not really any kind of need to have them up sooner. Like, nobody's expecting them, and I don't make any money off of them, so probably just gonna start processing them whenever I feel like it. I might think about starting to even combine them into longer episodes. I don't know. I'll probably keep them the same, about 45 minutes, because that's a pretty good length podcast. I keep thinking about it as some kind of long-term plan for making videos, but really I do think this is just more of a personal hobby, like a video diary. Well, I guess audio diary, but it's still good to plan it, I guess. But I need to figure out a solution for kind of more long-term storage of it, because right now I have all of them on my computer, all the files, but I don't really know uh, what exactly I'm gonna do long term for storage, because I don't have any huge, like, terabyte plus storage devices. I do want to keep all of these, because you never know with things like YouTube, it could just all collapse and be deleted one day, and then don't have any copies of anything. So I don't want to do that, but at the same time, I also don't want to just keep them on my computer, because they take up space. Like, it's starting to add up a little bit. It's not a crazy amount, but especially because I process them at 720p, since it's just a single image. I don't really care about it being higher quality, so just process it at 720p, so it's good enough for a phone, since that's really what I listen to podcasts on. I guess some people listen to it in other ways, but I mainly listen to them on my phone, so I kind of tailored that more for a smaller part of the phone screen that you'd see. And then I only have the actual image saved once for the face of it, which I need to figure out. Well, I've said she'd be up for a couple weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. I was talking about maybe seeing if she wanted to paint a logo so I didn't have to use an AI generated image. But she said she might be up for that, but hadn't really had the time to think about it much further because, I mean, she's pregnant. That's kind of the most important thing going on. But yeah, I'll see if she still wants to do that, or could try painting it myself, but I don't really know how to, because she was talking about doing oil paint, which I think, based on her other oil paintings, I think oil paint would look good. Because it kind of has that more amorphous shape to it rather than a very clearly designated one, and could do like different colors for different feathers. That could look cool. But oh, well, yeah, the only problem with that is if I do try and paint it myself, that's yet another uh, thing I'm going to be trying to add on top of all the hobbies I'm trying to do and all the other stuff I'm trying to do, which I haven't got around to any of yet, of course. But I think today's Friday, so I think tomorrow I will probably start um, planning. Well, I'll start painting that big miniature I've been talking about. I think I got another set that I need to assemble. Uh, it's a riot trooper riot stormtrooper squad set. It's really cool, but yeah, I'm gonna have to assemble and paint that. But I think on these ones I want to try a slightly different style, but I'm not sure because with the last stormtroopers I sprayed them white, uh, painted all the detail, and then touched up the white and did the highlights on the armor again with another coat of white to make them pop a little more. And then kind of did a little bit of a very light kind of wash on the whole thing, give it a tiny bit of like dirtying, but not much. But then so I like the way those came out. Those stormtroopers look really good. And I've done some clone troopers a slightly different way where I uh, do them in white and then do a wash that's kind of grayish and use that to spread the black for the kind of body glove underneath the armor and then touch up the white. But then you have to touch up the wash again. So that one is a little more difficult. It requires less layers, and it was recommended as kind of an easy way to paint them. And I think just because it takes less time, even though it is very, it takes more skill, but it takes less time. But I think I'm going to go with the one that's a little more time consuming and doing all of the layers individually, not really trying to use a wash to spread the black paint. Just the problem is they're black and white, so it's super hard to get those details without overspreading. And so you kind of have to do 3 or 4 layers even to get a good finished look. But I really like putting a lot of detail on my models. I think it makes them look good. But so I think that I'm gonna just go with the first method. But I also thought of a third method, which is spraying them dark and then doing the detailing and then doing the white armor and having that white armor kind of over a dark base, which would mean I need a couple extra layers of white to make it as bright as I would want, but it would already kind of have that dark highlighting. If I wanted to just do like one layer on the shaded parts, it'd be kind of built in. But I'm gonna have to think more about that because that's all the time I have for now. I'll continue this later. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of today's podcast. Oh, continuing where I left off, because I can actually remember this time. The third idea I had for how to paint the stormtroopers was paint them like a dark gray. So I have a couple different base coats. I have a white kind of ivory. Well, not ivory. Like I have like stark white, and then like a kind of tannish ivory. It's like it's still white mostly, but it's a little bit more tan. A little bit more than off-white, but still, like if you just saw a car that color, you'd just assume it was a bit of a dirty car. I say that because there's a truck that just pulled out in front of me that is like the exact color I'm talking about, and I can tell it's meant to be white, but they just haven't washed it in like a year. Which, I mean, that's what my car would look like if I had a white car, so I'm not judging them, but that's the color. It's like kind of slightly tan, halfway between tan and white, I guess. But I have white, then that tan white, which is called bone something in the other, and then I have a third color, which would be that a real dark gray. But I also have no, those are the only 3. So those are my primers that I have. And they're a combination primer and base coat, pretty much. But they work. I have to put one of those on before I start putting on all the other paints, so I need one of them. But I was thinking, so for the third option, I can do the dark gray and then take and do a layer, do all the black highlights, Well, actually, first take and do a layer of white, I think. No, first would be all the black highlights, and then do a first layer of white, and then touch up any of the black highlights that I messed up, and then do a second layer of white on all but the most kind of shadowed pieces so that I could give it some kind of layered highlights. And then take and do a third layer of white on just the tops where the light would be hitting the most. And I think that could be a cool way of doing it. But I also need to do some other pieces on them because the riot troopers have like these shoulder strap kind of like suspender looking things to kind of represent more of their riot gear holds. And then they have their shields, and I'm going to do the shields like a kind of light gray with kind of a black area, I think. I'm still debating on that. I want to take a look at some of the, because we've only really seen these troopers in, well, actually, no, we haven't seen those kind of troopers in any actual Star Wars media. I think Andor had some riot army troopers, but they didn't have like the full on riot troops. So I need to take a look back at Andor and see if they had any good examples, because I like keeping mine very accurate to kind of all the shows and series. It feels like it's not as like original, but I still enjoy it more. And then I also don't play many games of Legion. It's more of just a collecting hobby, but also I want to use them in Legion, but also I want to use them in a Star Wars role-playing game. And that, I want them to be very realistic. Or, I guess, lore accurate, not realistic. But I have a lot more fun doing them kind of that style rather than, I know people do a lot of fun color combinations, but I like them to be more classic rather than very different. Well, there's a guy with hazards on in front of me, and I don't know why he has his hazards on, so I'm going to back up a bit. Anyway, yeah, I want to do that, but and then that set also has some droids who are like the KX series. It's like K2SO or any of the KX security droids, and I want to do those. I have K2SO himself, and then I have the KX security droids. I think because they're like black with a single highlight on the shoulders, and so I think I'm gonna keep with that theme a bit, because I know that black actually looks really good if you do the kind of bone tan or bone white that I was talking about earlier. if you do that and then on top of that do black, it actually really looks good with the highlights. And so I'm going to do that and then kind of dry brush with a bit more of the silvery metal. But for that, I also need to keep the shoulder different so I can do a highlight, which I have a really good red color for that. So it should be easy, but I want to do red on their shoulders, but then K2SO has that yellow shoulder. And I think I have a good yellow color for that, but I'll have to make sure. Then the eyes are kind of white, and on my commando droids, I just painted them white and then left the eye without any additional layers on it. So I think I'm going to do that again. So those should be pretty easy because it's just base, contrast, and then dry brush. But then on the other pieces for those, I just have to do the I'm trying to figure out if I need to do a full layer and then another kind of wash on the. I might need to do a bit of a dirt wash on them or an oil wash. Yeah, I'll probably do oil. I really love the Nuln Oil wash from Citadel. Like, I just feel like any of my droid models, I just use tons of that on them, and any of the guns, it looks great on anything metal. It just looks amazing. So I'll probably do a wash of that on the kind of arm highlight piece because it's just the shoulder there, so it's kind of hard to get, and I might have to do. I'm trying to decide whether I want them to be in white or bone for the initial kind of contrast, because I think the white, or for the initial base coat, because I think the white will bring out more of the contrast, but the bone might give them a bit of a darker color, which could look good. I need to see what I did with the K2SO Mini, because I've already done his base coat. And so I think I'm going to try to base coat or try to do the same on the others so they all match and it looks consistent, other than that arm piece. So that's all the time I got for now, so I will continue this later. And we're back for part 3. So I've didn't check just now, but I'm gonna do the KX droids all the same. So whatever K2SO is, I'll do the same for the other two that I have, just so that they aren't all different. No, because I've done a couple of different versions of the black kind of over. I've done it over a metallic, I've done it over white, and I've done it over the bone. And I think the white is best for kind of giving that contrast. And I also think the white with the smooth kind of, because it's going to be more smooth broad surface model, that does kind of look more metallic. And I can, if I add the dry brush of the metallic color, that'll help that along and keep it looking the same. Whereas the kind of bone is a little, not much darker, just a little darker. I think, though, with the dry brush, it'll look about the same because it'll bring out the highlights for both of them just about equally. I think the tan or bone color might just need a slight bit more of the dry brush. And so that one might be a bit of a easier one because I tend to overdo the dry brush a little bit, especially the first time, but maybe I'll just be a little more careful with it. Oh, got a bad bit of a cough today. I probably need to take my inhaler. Oh, I think my asthma is starting to act up because the weather's kind of getting a little more dry and, or not dry, wet and hot, and all the pollen's coming out. But it doesn't affect. There's some seasons of the year where I get allergies just in general, and other seasons where the allergy meds don't help because it's more of a lung thing. I think it's just when there's a lot of pollen in the air, I have a slightly harder time breathing. And so it's aggravates my asthma. But yeah, I'm thinking that I kind of want to try that darker and then doing the lighter shades for the stormtroopers, but there's also some areas where it needs the lighter shade first to kind of bring out the highlights better, especially on the kind of face of it. It has so stormtroopers actually have like kind of bluish markings on their kind of on the front of the stormtrooper helmet. There's like the tubes kind of coming from the side. There are parts of the helmet that stick out a little more with some like vent kind of looking things in them, but those are actually slightly bluish. And so I paint them like that on my stormtroopers that I've already completed, and they look really good. So I want to do that with the rest of them as well. And so that'll be good uh, a good kind of indication point of how the color should go, because I don't want to do that on the dark gray because it won't give the right color off. I need that to be over white or light gray, which I probably need to do kind of a lighter gray in those grooves and then do it so that it's still that grayish blue instead of just bright blue. But I want them to match, so I might need to just do the blue on the white like I did with the first squad, which would mean I need to do a base coat of white over the dark gray before doing the helmet if I go that way. Whereas if I go more the spray it all white and then do the rest from there, like I did with the others, it'll be a little easier to get that part done. But I think So I've done the white or the dark gray spray on the larger LAAT LE gunship, and so I'm going to probably try doing that first because that is using a lighter gray color, which is not white, but it's a lighter gray, which is going to be showing kind of how it works because I'm going to try that same method I was talking about of doing a layer over all of it of the lighter gray and then doing the second layer of the lighter gray on the parts I want to be even lighter and see if that works. Because if it doesn't work and it just kind of stays all the same color, then that's probably a good indicator that I need to just do the white base. But if it works and I get a cool kind of shading effect, then I might need to do the dark gray method. So I guess we'll see just kind of what happens as we continue. But I need to work on one of those this weekend. Either way, I think I'm going to work on the bigger model just because I want to get it painted because I can't put it together until I get it painted because there's so many pieces that go inside of each other and overlap. So I really need to get it all painted before I can get that model finished. And I would like to put it up on display. I really do like the model, and a lot of people think it's a little bit too big for the game, but I like it. And I also kind of want to I kind of want to figure out something cool with the base because it's kind of just a big empty base right now, and I want to do a more complex base a little bit rather than just flat. I've been thinking I could get some rocks from outside and just use those as kind of boulders or something. Because I have the grass that I like using, and I do all my bases the same because I want them to be able to be kind of mixed and matched and fitted together, even if they don't fit with the table 100%. But I also do want to build a table that matches the bases of the minis. So, but I'm actually almost out of basing material. I've used a lot of it up, so I need to go by Hobby Lobby and get more. It's just like the pebbles and ballast they have in their miniature section. It's meant for train sets, but it works really well for everything else too. I'd like to get more terrain in general, but I think we're going to just be saving a lot of money, so I don't want to buy any, and I can try making some, which I do want to try. But I'm not going to be able to paint it until I have all the necessary materials for that. Oh. But yeah, I'm wanting to do a 6 foot by 3 foot map that I can use and reuse for a lot of different things. I still do want to do what I was talking about last month with a bunch of individual kind of sections with like points of interest or unique terrain features, and then kind of mix and match those to create a more easily stored and mobile map versus like a much more permanent version. But I need to kind of get to work on both of them if I want to do either. But I was also going to build a planter this weekend, so I might start with that and see how that goes. Oh. But I was thinking about making a video of building the planter, and I might try that still, but I'm not 100% sold because I don't know a lot about editing. I just kind of want to do stuff without worrying so much about, oh, do I do this? Do I do that? Do I record this? How do I format it? How do I record to get the best video? I want to just kind of do it. So we'll see what I end up doing, but that's all the time I have for now. So I'll continue this with the final part here in a while. Hello and welcome to the final part of today's episode of the podcast. Ooh, hot car. It is burning up out there today. I left my metal coffee mug thermos. I meant to take it home at lunch because I was done with it for the day, and I accidentally left it in here, and now it is burning up. And it's right where I like to rest my arm. So, oh. Yeah, that's one thing about living in this part of Texas. It gets super hot in your car in the summer. Like, I mean, we live in a pretty hot part of Texas anyway. It's a dry heat, so it's not that bad, but when it gets, even if it doesn't get incredibly hot in the air, the sun just beats down on your car real bad because we have pretty clear sunny skies most of the time around here. And on top of that, we have not no trees, but we tend to have a little less trees than a lot of places. I mean, we got more, actually, come to think of it, we have more than most cities. It's just we have less than like the small towns, because most people have like one tree if they have a lawn. Except in the newer parts where I guess they've planted some trees, but one thing, there's a lot of like new kind of suburban areas to the south part of town or south part of the city, and they've had like super rapid expansion, but the problem is they've just been kind of super quick put them up and sell them homes, and so a lot of people do not have trees because they've just been like putting these houses and HOAs up as fast as they could. They aren't really waiting on things like trees. They're just throwing down the most basic grass. A lot of times it's not even grass, it's turf. Not often, but I started following this guy on YouTube who does some conservationist work in Alabama, and I think I've talked at least a little bit, if not extensively, about how I do not like grass lawns. But yeah, I don't like grass lawn, like short mowed grass lawns. I really prefer the natural plant ones, like with prairie grass out here, especially because, or like sage grass would be a good one. Just some of those natural grasses that not only help some local wildlife, but just, in my opinion, look way better and also use less water and aren't as hard to maintain. Like, if I was able to plant that, I'd just have to plant it and then let it go and just check and make sure that uh, no weeds are taking over. Oh, but unfortunately, I am only renting for now, so I can't replace my driveway or lawn, which I definitely don't want to entirely replace anything. But I have been thinking about what I want in the future, and I'd like a short driveway in the back, I think, if I'm on a road and not out in the country a little ways. Because if I'm out in the country, I'd like to just have a detached garage, or like maybe, I don't know, maybe still an attached garage for bad weather, but just kind of caliche road, and then that way we could have I don't really prefer the super paved, because like I like the kind of paved concrete because it's so much smoother and easier to drive on, and you can just like draw on it with chalk with your kids and all. So we might need a little bit of that, but I don't like just paving over the whole area because that doesn't feel as nice. I like the more grass and dirt, but maybe a little concrete area for like a basketball court, and then in case we need to work on any cars, that'd be there. But having something a little more rustic is what I'd like. So caliche or dirt road, and then just having kind of the natural grasses around there. But oh, that's one of those things that about renting is, especially renting in the area we do, is I still have to take care of our lawn, but I can't change it really. I guess since I'm the one taking care of it, I could technically change it, but I don't want to spend money on it. I'd rather just kind of maintain it as is for now. Luckily, we don't have anything in the front. We only have stuff in the back, so I'm not worried about watering it really, and I can just mow it down and make sure there's not a bunch of weeds growing. We got a bunch of weeds real bad, and about a week ago I tore them all up. So now we're back to just grass back there, but there were a bunch of big old hogweed. Oh, and then yeah, but eventually I want to have some pecan trees, just local Texas pecan. and then some fruit trees, and then a bunch of native grasses and like prairie or sage around the place. And I was thinking maybe a sage grass from the U.S. because those don't really require as much mowing there, or they don't. Neither one requires mowing, but the prairie grass around here can get a little taller than some of the shorter sage grasses. But I know there's some sage grass that gets tall too. I need to look at it more and figure out exactly which ones I want because we are thinking we want to think about stuff like that before too long. But with another kid on the way, I don't think we're going to be moving anytime soon. We need to get all that done and make sure we have all our stuff squared away with the kids and medical bills and all that. And then we can start looking at saving up for a house. But it'd be nice to move out in the country a little ways, get a nice little plot of land, and just keep it a little more natural and not so manicured. There's a bunch of sunflowers growing over here in the ditch. I like sunflowers. They're pretty and they grow big and tall. Which I want to I do like having a lot of flowers. I want to find out what flowers kind of work best here. And I know there's a lot of native flowers that aren't as common, and I want to start spreading those a bit. I'm no ecologist by any means, but I do prefer to kind of keep up with more of the natural stuff around and not just rip it up and replace it with something that doesn't really look that good because it's just green and shaved plants being cut in half. But I know some people do like that. I really don't. Oh. I like the kind of longer grasses that grow around here, and I think they look a lot nicer swaying in the wind, having that kind of more natural kind of light green color rather than the super dark green of lawns. But that's all the time we have for today. So thank y'all for listening and catch y'all next time.